Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Personality Pick. And today we have a great guest. And yeah, let's go ahead and get this started. Cody, how you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man, and thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it. So let's dive right into it. Dude, fight announced not too long ago. You were supposed to fight Rodolfo Vieira a couple weeks ago, and then that didn't fall out. Now, this matchup with Michal Oleksiejczuk, how do you feel about your confidence overall moving from focusing on someone who's mainly a grappler, I would say, to someone who's more of a striker?
I feel good, man. I feel like Hidalgo honestly might have been a tougher stylistic matchup, just in terms of you don't necessarily want to take down a five-time world champion jiu-jitsu, So it kind of was not that was super limiting. I still had plans to grapple, but this fight, I feel like I can fight wherever I need to. I feel like this guy's a little bit less dynamic than Hidalgo, so yeah, it gives me a lot of opportunity, I think, to kind of dictate where the fight takes place for sure.
100%. And I know we talked a little bit off air about this. Both fighters are ranked above you, so either way, it's like a win-win situation. Um, Saying all goes well next week, where do you see yourself in the division, given that there was a little bit of a shakeup in the champion losing, and what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I feel like it sets me up for a big year next year. I'm in no hurry to get to the top 15. I think this fight kind of puts me like on in the 20, 25, kind of in that area. But I just started, I've only been a pro for less than 4 years, so I need to do a lot of learning and growing and hiding behind wins, and I'm aware of that. I feel like I have big expectations for myself, obviously, but I'm still pretty new to the sport, so I'm not in a huge rush to fight guys in the top 15. But a win here sets me up for a big 2023, and potentially towards the end of that year, breaking into the top 15 if I can keep my streak going. So, and I think it just proves a lot to myself. I was talking about this with Dustin today. Me and Dustin Jacoby went and got lunch. Dustin fought this kid, and this fight is a prove it fight. It proves a lot to myself if I can go out there against a durable, tough guy that I know is highly regarded and pretty good, and can go continue my streak and continue to look better every fight. I think that's big for confidence moving forward, and like I said, sets me up for a big 2023.
Speaking of looking better, the past two wins, two-win fight streak, round one finishes in both. Uh, Given your short time as a pro, how did you see yourself evolving once you got into the UFC and then getting those two finishes? Like I bet that the emotions inside the cage must have been ecstatic. Just I could only
Yeah,
imagine.
for sure. I mean, it was so when I lost on Contender Series, I felt like, if you go back and watch that fight, I was dominating the whole fight until I
Mhm.
lost, and so that was a tough pill to swallow. I made it to the round of 12 twice as a in NCAA wrestling, Division II wrestling, so I was just short of being an All American. And then I took second in state 3 times. So I always was like, man, I'm just the kid that falls just a little bit short. So when I was able to go get some finishes and some wins at the highest level, it just helped prove a lot to myself that I'm doing the right things, and I do belong here, and uh, yeah, I feel like the biggest thing I do is just I'm a technique thief. I try to steal from Dustin, steal from Josh, steal from all the killers we got at Factory X, and then obviously I'm super spoiled and get a ton of work from Coach Mark Montoya, who's one of the best in the game, and um, I'm super, like I said, I'm super spoiled. I get way too much attention, uh, and I feel like I've been able to parlay that into a lot of success, especially this last year. So hopefully I can keep that going.
100%, 100%. Now, speaking more about your background, how did you get into this sport?
So originally I wrestled. I was a big fan of the sport. I wrestled all through college and high school. Had some success there. Was did pretty well. Was it, like I said, a couple time national qualifier. And then when I graduated, I went to coach college wrestling in Division III at a school called Olivet in Michigan. And then when I was there, I was like, I think I might just do some training. I didn't necessarily think I was going to take a fight. Uh, I wanted to, but I don't know. I feel like that's the one of the biggest leaps you make is like, okay, I'm gonna actually get in the cage and fight someone. So I wasn't sure I was gonna do that at that point, and I found a gym though. I started training a little bit. That's where I met my wife. Actually, she kind of took me under her wing. At first, she was just my coach. I'll never forget. I would like go in the mornings, and they didn't have classes, so I'd go in the mornings and just hit the bag, and I had no idea what I was doing. And she came up to me one time. She's like, "You need some help, huh?" I'm like, "Who the hell is this little girl telling me that I can't fight?" Blah blah blah. Little did I know she was in the UFC and obviously much more talented than me. And so I learned pretty quick. And yeah, she took me under her wing, and she would always tell me, she's like, "When you make it big, you're gonna owe me 2%," and now I owe her at least 50. So she made out pretty good on the deal. So after 1 year of coaching college wrestling, I just decided, I'm going to commit full time to fighting. And I still worked, but I was like, I'm not going to make, because I was driving like 2 hours to go coach college wrestling, coming back at night training, going train in the morning, drive 2 hours practice, drive 2 hours back. So I was
Wow.
like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to focus full time on fighting and working, side gigs, part-time jobs and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there a specific fighter that you say you've looked up to or tried to emulate so far in your career, or multiple fighters?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I guess since I got to Factory X, Dustin, I've looked up to him quite a bit. He's kind of like an older brother to me. He's really, like I said, taking me under his wing, helped me with a lot of things other than just fighting. We're talking life things that are way more important than fighting. I had favorite fighters. I liked young Connor. I thought young Connor was the man when he was like still funny, and he was pretty witty, and he was super talented. Obviously, those things all
Mhm.
went hand in hand. And now he's kind of a little bit different. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of the way he is now, but it is what it is. If I had $500 million in the bank, I might be a little different too. So, but yeah, I was a big fan of him. And I saw that a lot. I mean, obviously, like wrestlers, I saw a lot of wrestlers had a lot of success. And the college that I went to, Newberry College, actually, Corey Anderson went there. Cody Garbrandt went there. So we had like some guys that were having success in MMA. And so I obviously was like, man, those guys are doing it. I know them. I've met them. I can do it if they're doing it.
Yeah, and 100%. And I think that translates to a lot of your game, especially in that fight against Dalcha. I remember it clearly. The wrestling made a huge difference there.
Yeah, I
Um,
was able to hide a little bit in the wrestling.
yeah, I was literally going to transition to that fight. I mean, given you had to face a little bit of controversy in that fight with that power strike that landed. How were you able to remain so calm in there and know and like just grind it out and get that finish yourself after the early controversy?
Yeah, I don't really know if I was that calm. I just felt like I just didn't want to quit on myself. You know what I mean? And I know I'll never quit on myself. That's one thing I know. I can take an ass whooping. And I didn't always know that. As like an amateur and a younger fighter, I was like, man, this shit's not that important. Now I'm like, I don't know if it's my ego or what, but I just won't quit on myself. So if I lose, man, good job. You got the best of me, and that happens. But I just remember being in there, and like he rocked me pretty bad with that first uppercut. And I think it rocked me more because I was so shocked at how much power he had from his knees. You expect power on the feet, like, okay. And
Mhm.
it's crazy how much your expectation can dictate like how bad something hurts, or like if you don't see something, how much worse it can be. And it doesn't even look like they threw it that hard. But yeah, he rocked me with that. And then the rest of them, I was somehow able to move my head and not get hit too clean through the rest of them. And then I knew going into the fight that his cardio was a weakness. So as it was going, like I think we were like 3 minutes in maybe, and I was like, okay, there's no way this kid is going to keep this up for another 12 minutes of this fight. You know what I mean? I've watched this film. I know he doesn't have the gas tank to do this. So I felt pretty confident when I jumped that guillotine that even if I wasn't able
Mhm.
to get it, he wasn't going to finish me. And then we were going to go into rounds 2 and 3. And I felt like I had the gas and the ability to go get a finish in those rounds if I needed to. Luckily, I didn't have to, but I remember thinking that thought in the fight, like, okay, he's not going to be able to keep this pace. There's no way. Like, this sucks, but it's going to be over soon because there's no way he's going to keep this going for 12 minutes.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to your overall toughness. And you don't see too much of that nowadays in the UFC. A lot of people look for the easy way out and just saying it how it is. But
Yeah, I agree. I agree
fighters
for
like
sure.
you, yeah, 100%, 100%. Now, what do you think besides the toughness, what do you think sets you apart from the next, like, 5 to 10 spots in your division? What do you see yourself, highlighting more of that maybe people ranked above you at the moment don't really take into consideration?
I think I'm pretty well rounded. I think my grappling, my jujitsu, my wrestling, and my striking, I feel like I bring a lot of different things to the table. So just being dynamic. And then I'm pretty athletic. I feel like that's part of the reason I've been able to pick things up pretty quickly. You don't see too many wrestlers pick up striking fast, and I feel like I've been able to do that. And then just like I'm a finisher. You know, I have 8 wins, 7 finishes, 4 knockouts, and 3 submissions. So I find a way to get it done, and I have different ways to get it done, I guess. And I think that's just a big thing is that I'm dynamic. Um, I wouldn't say that I'm amazing anywhere, but I'm pretty good in all aspects, which can take you pretty far, you know, and I'm getting better. That's the thing. So being so new to the sport allows me to have a pretty high ceiling where I can grow quite a bit, which has been awesome. That's why I always say like hide behind my wins, because every time I fight, I'm trying to be a better version, which I'm sure everyone is, but I really feel like I am. You know, I went and a lot of people probably say that Dolce fight was a fluke. I know people are saying that. They're like, what an idiot. Dolce's stupid. It wasn't like, oh, Cody, great job. It was like, what a moron Dolce is. And so then when I went out against Trayshawn, he's a striker. Everyone's like, Cody's going to get smashed if he tries to keep it on the feet. I took him down in the first 15 seconds, cooked him a little bit on the feet, and then I knocked him out in the first round. And I mean, that's when I realized like some people are just going to hate you no matter what. You can't do right in some people's eyes. But to me, I was like, yeah, I can strike with strikers. I can wrestle with anybody. And when you put those two things together, it's tough to beat.
Yeah, I completely agree. And going on the point of the finishing ability, do you have a specific way that you prefer to finish, whether it's submission via guillotine or whether it's a knockout? Do you have like a specific type of submission that you like more?
No, any finish that gets me out of there, I'm happy with, man. I honestly like it's crazy when I go in there. I'm like, whatever I can do to get out of this fight as quickly as possible, I'm down for. So and I'm looking for them all the time too. Like I'm looking for the knockout. I'm looking for when it's on the ground. I'm looking for submissions constantly. So I feel like that allows me to find finishes quite a bit.
100%. Now, what do you think you would be doing if you weren't a fighter?
Well, I triple majored in college. I was an English, history, and secondary education major. So I'd probably be like coaching high school football and wrestling and teaching history or something. And I'm not ruling that out. Maybe that'll be eventually, but there's kind of a timeline on your fight career. So, when I'm done with that, maybe I'll go into teaching. I've done a lot of construction since I started fighting, which I've enjoyed and learned a lot doing that as well. So maybe I'll go into that. Uh, but I don't know. I've had so many weird jobs. It's always funny. I talk to my parents and stuff, and they've had the same job for 30 years. And,
Mhm.
when I was coming up on the regional scene, you can't obviously support yourself being a fighter. So I worked construction. I was in sales. I did like headhunting for a big tech company. So I've done all kinds of different things, except for teach. So the only thing I got my degree in, I haven't done. But yeah, I feel like I don't know what I'd be doing. Something. So sales, teaching, I'd have a ton of options. Probably bouncing around.
That's awesome. What's something that like, what's a hobby that you like to do when you're not in camp, when you have the time to, relax a little bit and really let yourself go?
I would say I'll go to the gun range with Colin Anglin. He's out here with me in Colorado. He's one of my best friends. We go to the gun range, play some golf. But if I'm not doing those two things, then I'm literally doing nothing, hanging out with my wife and my daughter and trying to enjoy the time off. Factory X, they give us like coach is pretty strict about your out of camp. He's like, we don't do camps here, so if you want to take a break after your fight, that's no problem. But I better see you in 2 weeks. So it's very short time to recover and enjoy your hobbies, I guess. But yeah, I would say like go to the gun range with Colin or play golf. Now it's kind of bad weather, so more inside hanging out with my daughter and wife.
Wholesome family man. We love to see it.
That's right.
Now, I've heard this from a lot of fighters, and it's kind of a little weird to me. But are you the type of fighter that likes to watch the UFC?
um, yeah, I watch all the events. As it gets closer to my fight, typically I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch these, but I do. I always end up doing it. And like I got a teammate fighting Saturday, Alex Hernandez, so
Mhm.
I'm sure I'll watch him and tune in. But yeah, before I got in the UFC, I definitely was more of a fan, I would say. Now when I'm watching them, I'm less of a fan, I think. I mean, there's still fights that get me super excited, but uh, not as much anymore, for sure.
Awesome. Now, before we get to the pick'em for this weekend. Is there a fighter coming out of Factory X that is either not too known in the UFC at the moment or not even in the UFC that you want to give a shout out to that people you think are just sleeping on?
I don't know if they're sleeping on him, but I'll name 4 guys actually.
Okay.
Luis Garul, he's a 125er. He's an absolute animal. He's fought pretty good competition for a young pro. He's finished everyone inside 2 minutes. He will be in the UFC. I watch him and Brandon Royval put in rounds every Friday, and it literally people would pay money to watch those rounds. And yeah, he's a beast, super well rounded, good fighter. And then Jacoby Jones. He fights for LFA. He's a 155er, great wrestler, like 3-time All-American, and he's a beast as well. Markel Medeiros, he fights for Fury. He's probably one of the best strikers in our gym. He's an early pro as well. And then Harris Talunzik, he fights for LFA. He's a 170, great wrestler, good striker. You'll see all those guys on Contender Series or in the UFC by the end of 2023. I would bet a large amount of money on it if I was allowed to.
James Krause.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know I did say before we get to the pick'em, I had one more question. Looking forward to your fight coming up next Saturday. What do you see in your opponent that or are there things that you see that you could exploit in his game plan?
I think on paper I'm probably the best wrestler that he's ever fought for sure. He's shown some weakness in that area. And then I also feel like I come forward. I feel like he hasn't fought many people that will come forward and meet him kind of in the middle. So when you put those two things together, I think they blend really well to each other. And I think that'll allow me to find a finish. I don't want to talk trash because I think he's really good. I think he's powerful. I think he has great forward pressure. He has good cardio. He's super durable. I mean, I watched him get smashed by Dustin, like hurt bad and came back and didn't get finished. And I know how hard Dustin hits. So I know he's definitely got a good chin on him, but I don't think he's very dynamic at all. You know, he's a southpaw boxer. He's not going to kick. He's not going to clinch. He's not going to wrestle. And so I feel like that gives me an advantage. And as long as I can be dynamic and work everything, I feel like it leads to a finish for me. I don't know what round, but I just got to keep the pace up, keep the blend up, so to speak, with the wrestling and the striking. And I think I find a finish.
Yeah, I think Lou is still mad for the round 2 sub. Friend of the show. Cool. So I'm gonna bring up the fight card for this weekend, and we're gonna go from let's do top to bottom this time. I think I usually do bottom to top for predictions, but let's start off with the main event. Jan Blachowicz against Magomed Ankalaev. Who do you think takes this one?
I like Ankalaev in that fight. It's kind of funny. I think it's kind of similar to my fight. He's very dynamic. He can strike. He can wrestle. And when you have someone who's dynamic against someone who's not as a dynamic, I'm gonna go with the dynamic guy every time.
All right. Next up, co-main event, we got Paddy Pimblett against Jared Gordon.
I think I'm gonna take Jared Gordon. I think he's a vet. He's got really good power in his hands. And Paddy has a tendency to need to get woken up in fights. You know, you see him get rocked quite a bit, and then he's game. Then he'll finish you. But I don't know if you let Gordon hurt you, if you're gonna be able to come back from that.
Solid. Next up, Santiago Ponzinibbio against Alex Morono.
I like Ponzinibbio. Dude's an absolute dog. Lots of power. And it's short notice for Moreno.
Mm-hmm. Next, we got Darren Till against Dricus du Plessis.
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I want to say Darren Till because I think his counter striking, I feel like Dricus kind of leaves his chin up in the air and just is like a wild man. His style of fighting is like you don't see people fight like that, and there's a reason. And I think it might catch up with him. I'm going to take Till. I think Till will catch him.
All right. Bryce Mitchell versus Ilya Topuria, the people's main event.
This is such a good fight.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally a 50-50 fight. I'm going to go Bryce Mitchell just because I don't know. I'm going to go Bryce Mitchell because in the Yusuf Zalal fight, Yusuf's one of my teammates. Yusuf was able to kind of gas Topuria out a little bit, and in the third round, he didn't have much for him, and I think Bryce can kind of keep a hard pace and hard pressure and kind of do the same thing, if not earlier. And if he gets him tired, I think Bryce can dominate with his grappling.
Not to mention, Ilya has a really hard weight cut. The
Yeah,
one.
for sure. I thought he was going to 55 for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was gonna stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we got Contender Series debutant Raul Rosas Jr. against Jay Perrin.
Oh man, I want Jay Perrin to win, but I think Rosas Jr. His grappling's super slick. Uh, I know some people that train with him. They say the kid's grappling is next level. So I'll take Rosas Jr.
Fair enough. Jairzinho Rosenstrike against Chris Dawkins.
I hope Dawkins wins, and I hope he. I'm not gonna. I don't know who to pick because heavyweights is unbelievable. You can't really pick anyone. They both hit so hard. I'm gonna pick Dawkins, and I hope after this fight he goes down to 205. Hope he wins and goes down to 205.
I feel like if he wins, he might stay for another like fight or two. I feel like
No,
he.
I just want him to, I would love I wish more guys would win and then go to the correct weight class instead of lose and be like, okay, I should have been here the whole time. You know.
Mhm. Next up, we got Edmund Shabazian against former opponent Dalcha Lungiambula.
I'm gonna take Edmund. He's trains with Puna. Puna just fought Dolce, finished him. Dolce trained at Extreme Couture for a little bit. They have a pretty good read on that kid, I feel like. And Edmund's really good. And where he's not good, Dolce isn't gonna push the issue. You know what I mean? So it's a good fight for Edmund stylistically. I think it's a good bounce back for him.
I see it the same way. Another fun fight: Chris Curtis against Joaquin Buckley.
That's a really good fight. Both guys are super similar. There will be no wrestling, I doubt, in that fight. I'm gonna go Chris Curtis. I think he's a little more technical. I think he might hurt him to the body a little bit. His body works so good. And then kind of drain the gas a little bit. If he can find the body, he'll drain the gas. Buckley's kind of shown he doesn't have the greatest gas tank. And once he starts hurting you the body, that'll be a game changer.
As someone in the comments just said, our good friend of the show, Cody knows his stuff. I guess I've been telling people, Chris Curtis. Next up, Billy Q against Alexander the Great Hernandez.
I'm biased. I'm taking my boy Alex. He's finally at his right weight class, 145. That's where he should be. And I'm excited to see him perform. I know how much work he put in this camp, and I know he's ready. So I think it'll be a big showing out, big 145 debut for him.
I sure hope so. Third fight on the card, Eric Silva against TJ Brown.
I'm going to take Silva just because there's a lot going on in TJ Brown's camp. There's a lot going on with that whole situation. And I think that's tough to fight through. You're losing your head coach 2 weeks before you're supposed to fight. And that's not easy. So I'll take Silva.
I tend to agree. Second fight on the card, we got Daniel Da Silva against Vinicius Salvador, making his debut from the Contender Series.
I don't know. That's a toss-up. I don't know either guys really that well. So I guess Da Silva. Is Da Silva the one? Does he train out of? Is he on Oliveira's team?
No.
I don't know either guy. So I don't know. I don't want to make a pick. I don't know.
You're good. You're good. And then last fight, or first fight of the night, I should say, is both debutants. It's going to be hard to know these ones too. Cameron Simon against Steven Kozlow.
I don't know anything about Steven Kozlow, but I did watch Simon's fight on Contender. He looked like an absolute beast. So I'll take him. But yeah, I don't know anything about the other guy, so don't hold me to it.
Yeah, I got you. He's a grappler mainly, and we've seen Simon struggle a little bit with the wrestling, so that's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him, so that pick's kind of a wash. I wouldn't be that much on there.
Awesome. Well, Cody, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It was fun talking. Let the people know what you got going on and what you have planned for the future.
Yeah, just this fight December 17th. I'm gonna go home, enjoy the holidays, and it's back to training. I'm hoping to get 3 or 4 fights next year, and yeah, hopefully this one sets me up for a big one.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. And for the fans, thank you so much for watching and being active in the chat. I really appreciate it. If you can like, comment, and subscribe on the video, it would mean the world. We just finally crossed 100 subs, so
nice.
It's the thousands now.
Oh yeah, here for you too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. We'll see you guys next week for another episode. But until then, peace.